The church recruits more CIA than anybody else, right? Utah has NSA and CIA. Well, is this article, I don't know, let's read it and I'll tell you what I think. Members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints have long been rumored to be special targets for recruitment in government intelligence and security agencies. In 1971, a Ramparts magazine article claimed that Latter-day Saints provided both the CIA and FBI with some of their best men.
The woman did not say, we literally are working with Taylor Swift. She says, I use Taylor Swift as an example. However, that being said, what people need to understand about the potential for psychological operations and high-level influencers are in on it, it's that, who was it? I think I was talking to Seamus about this earlier. We were talking about who's possibly a Fed in media.
Yeah.
We're talking about Ray Epps.
We have a little cork board with
Right.
Tim takes Polaroids of people when they.
And Ray Epps is a member of the church, okay? Welcome aboard. Okay, so here's what's going on. I'm at 10,000 subscribers now. I'm happy about that. That makes me happy. I just had 2 people unsubscribe from me from my last video about suicide assistance. If you watched it all the way through, you would understand where I was going with it, and you would get edified towards the end, because I always, that is something that you definitely have to involve scripture with. And I discuss whether it is a commandment or whether it is, I left the question open. It was an open-ended question for y'all to give your answers in the comments section. But the first half was parody and levity. But why on earth do I have to explain this? You see, folks, comedy, you ever heard of a comedy killer? A comedy killer is when you have to explain that I'm being funny. Why should I have to do that? For you guys, you 2 people that unsubscribed, come back and watch the second half of it, because it's edifying and uplifting. And the whole point of that program was to bring awareness to the move, especially in Canada. It's going on in Canada. 12-year-olds can now choose to take their lives in Canada. And that kind of thing is being pushed there. We have come a long way from the days of Dr. Kevorkian. Anyway, enough about that. But for you 2 that unsubscribed, because I saw it in my analytics, get your rear ends back over there and watch the rest of the program. Anyway, is Taylor Swift, here's the question, is Taylor Swift CIA psyops? Are there any such things as movie stars being covert psyops, news people? We know that news people have been trained by the CIA. As far as Hollywood's concerned, there could be some, but let's think about Robert De Niro and a handful of actors. What do you think about Tom Hanks? Are they CIA operatives? Are they CIA assets? Are they covert? Jessica Chastain, or is it Chastain? Jessica Chastain, Claire Danes, John Krasinski, and even Ben Affleck. What's going on? What about Jennifer Aniston? And the reason I'm bringing this up is I'll talk about it. Pay attention. We'll go through it. I watched this and I had so many things about BYU come through my head and the church.
Tweet from Mike Benz. He says, watch the incredible moment that a rep from the Pentagon Psychological Operations Research Firm pitched NATO's military PSYOP center on turning Taylor Swift into an asset for the Western military alliance to stop disinformation on the internet.
Excuse me?
Well, let me play first the beginning.
So the first one, that's the most famous and the most common, is working with famous people or main influencers to share information or a particular message.
Okay, now I'm gonna
Wait. Why does this not surprise me? And it really tripped me out a little bit because of the BYU professor that is doing the philosophy class, a program or whatever, that course on philosophy. You wonder why, and you're not going to think about that yet, but you'll start thinking about it in a minute when they get into this.
Is working with famous people or main influencers to share information or a particular message.
Okay, now I'm going to pause real quick. The image being displayed at CyCon, that's a CyCon, it says identification and segmentation. In the identification era, it shows Taylor Swift, and it says goal. Identify key actors to train and spread desired messaging. Example, encourage opinion leaders to share counter IO content. Risk, opinion leaders may not want to share content or may accidentally share misleading content. Let's play more.
So I include Taylor Swift in here because...
Are you kidding me?
So yes, Mike is clearly enjoying that they've included Taylor Swift in here, but I must stress, many people have been accusing Taylor Swift of being a psyop or being in on psychological operations to some degree. This is an example being given. From what I can see here in this clip, the woman did not say, we literally are working with Taylor Swift. She says, I use Taylor Swift as an example. However, that being said, what people need to understand about the potential for psychological operation.
Before I continue with Tim and his folks, I want you all to understand something too. I go to videos like this occasionally and I look at stuff and I relate what's going on in the world, just like I did with Lahaina, just like I did with Tim Ballard, and just like I do with other things. I feel like I am that voice somewhat in the wilderness. I believe there are other LDS YouTubers that take life serious too. I've tried to stay away from this stuff. I absolutely have. And I'm not going to keep going on because we have stuff to watch, but I will always relate it. If you stick around, the last part or usually the last half of all these videos, there is a spiritual, scriptural, a message about awakening to your situation, to being on guard, and because brothers and sisters, we're getting to the point where yes, you need to keep yourself spiritually well. You need to gather Israel. You need to follow the brethren, but the brethren have never told you to stop, to stand down and stop learning these things. No one's ever told you not to do this. Just like no one's ever told you not to learn math, but we don't learn math at church, right? And so this is why I do these things. Some of you are, wondering why I talk about why I'm sharing things that are a little different from the rest. Well, it's really not. I see these guys doing it too, because all of this relates to the Book of Mormon, especially now that we're studying it. And it always will tie in at the end. So fret not. This is the gospel of Jesus Christ. Life is the gospel.
And how the woman did not say, we literally are working with Taylor Swift. She says, I use Taylor Swift as an example. However, that being said, what people need to understand about the potential for psychological operations and high-level influencers are in on it. It's that, who was it? I think I was talking to Seamus about this earlier. We were talking about who's possibly a Fed in media.
Yeah.
We're talking about Ray Epps.
We have a little cork board with
Right.
Tim takes Polaroids of people when they
And Ray Epps is a member of the church. Okay. How many of you think he might be an operative or psyops or working with the NSA or CIA? How many Mormons, how many members of the church are doing this? Utah, I just talked about it the other day, is going to be one of the wickedest cities. Why though? Why? And I will get to Tim Cass. Why? It's because look what's going on there. There's a lot of controversy coming out of Utah. The members of the church are split on things. Are other Christians split on things? Yeah, they are. But the saints are too. And we fight amongst ourselves ideologically. And there are people selling their souls. That's why Utah is the wickedest. That's why it was prophesied that Salt Lake would be the wickedest place on earth, one of the wickedest cities. Because the saints will have the gospel. They are like the Nephites who went against the Lord and fought against the light, went against that light, and their minds were darkened. This is what's going on. So how many people, just listen to this and I'll get to what I'm saying. I'm jumping the gun here a little bit.
when they do the podcast, and we put them on the cork
And then
board
we
with
have
a
this
bunch of yarn.
red string we tie around the thumb tip.
And we're trying to figure it out.
We actually don't.
We've weeded
but-
a couple out, I think.
But we were talking about who may actually be feds.
Mm-hmm.
Let me inform all of you guys. There are no feds. You know, there are feds. There are federal
I don't
informants.
know if I agree with him, but
the
listen
idea
to
that
what
people
his
working in media are
theory
secretly
is.
federal informants is just absolutely not the case. The idea that Taylor Swift is a handler, I would say, is absolutely not the case. But I will tell you what is very likely the case. I explained this a long time ago, and I'll explain it to you all again. You can go on Google Ads and choose to run advertisements of any sort on any channel you want. So let's say you want a particular kind of political content to be successful. If the CIA or the FBI wanted certain messaging to be dominant in this country, all they would have to do is create a proxy company, go onto Google Ads, buy ads at high rates on an individual's channel. Let's say they're like Freedom Tunes, Seamus's channel, and they say his content he's producing
Why wouldn't
is well. Let's put it this way. Let's accuse Timcast. Let's go with Timcast. We are anti-establishment, but we're not super far right or anything like that. We're fairly moderate on the political positions, but we're very anti-establishment.
Notice he had to switch to Timcast to make that point. He's like, Freedom
Right,
Tunes
because
is, like,
Freedom Tunes is
insane.
just too far out there. But so it would be this. If the federal government liked that, for instance, after Donald
And I would consider myself anti-establishment. I would consider this channel anti-establishment. I don't mean as far as the church is concerned. I am not anti-church establishment, but I would consider my channel anti-establishment. I would also consider that what he's saying might hold water, and here's why. It's not like there's this big pyramid and this big pie in the sky, and it kind of goes like this. What he's saying is all the oligarchs and the autocrats and these people, they say things. You see these Hollywood people, they go, oh, so-and-so is getting money, so-and-so is getting paid. What are they saying? What are they doing? Oh, they're getting all the scripts. They're getting all the movies. What are they saying? What are they doing? How is this guy getting a late night TV show and he's really not that talented, or he's not any more talented than the average Joe? What is he doing? What is he saying? It's not like the old days of Johnny Carson and David Letterman. Andrea and I were talking about this yesterday. You'll watch, what's his name? Doggone it. You can watch Stephen Colbert, Seth Meyers, James Corden, Jimmy Fallon. David Letterman's retired. Trevor, Jimmy Kimmel, Conan O'Brien. Okay, but two of these people used to get real laughs and real claps because they weren't put there for what they were politically pushing. I do not believe they were, but don't quote me on that. I could be wrong. The CIA and NSA have been doing things since post World War II, big time. but not really heavily until maybe the late 70s and 80s. But David Letterman and Johnny Carson, they used to get real laughs because they were into real humor and real entertainment and real jokes and real talent. And Andrea and I were talking about this yesterday around over breakfast. These other guys like Stephen Colbert and Jimmy Kimmel, they're on the Clinton Foundation payroll. And you listen and you watch the show. Who are these people in the audience? If 85% of the United States is voting for Trump, probably. My numbers could be wrong there. But who are these people that you can hear laugh tracks like we used to hear when we watched One Day at a Time, Happy Days and Laverne and Shirley? Remember those laugh tracks and the clapping? Yes, there were people in the audience, but like, okay, different strokes when you'd watch that, the laugh track. These other guys, they're not funny. So what he's saying is you see these other people in the audience. I mean, you see these other people, these actors and these entertainers that want power and they want fame and they want fortune. They are looking at the other guys and they're going, what are they saying and what are they doing? Pay attention. I know you guys are like, Troy, Tim could have told us that already. Well, doggone it, this is my show. This is my show. And here we go.
Donald Trump was defeated by Joe Biden in the 2020 election. And I don't mean moderate on the political positions, but we're very anti-establishment.
Notice he had to switch to Timcast to make that point. He's like, Freedom
right,
Tunes
because
is like
Freedom Tunes is just too far out there. But so the argument would be this. If the federal government liked that, for instance, after Donald Trump was defeated by Joe Biden in the 2020 election, and I don't mean fairly, I'm literally saying Biden is in the White House. The feds then go, look, we got a bunch of conservatives over here saying Trump won. Then we got someone like Tim Pool who almost agrees with them on all these other issues. So he's got a big portion of the audience, but he is saying Joe Biden won. What do? Nobody emails me. Nobody comes here, knocks on the door and says, Mr. Poole, we'd like to pay you to say these things for us. Yeah. What they do is they target people who they think have the message they like, buy ads.
Bingo.
Indiscriminately and just discreetly on Google. And what I mean is they'll just indiscriminately, as in they'll pull up a big thing of people and just throw money at them. And they don't care what you say. They don't ask you to say things. They just funnel money secretly through an automated programmatic system. So when people argue that Taylor Swift is a psyop, they don't need to send someone to ask her to do it. What happens is Taylor Swift makes music. People like it. Taylor Swift then says, I'm voting for Biden and Kamala Harris. They say, we really like that message. Let's use one of our proxy companies to sponsor her next tour and give her $1 million. That $1 million will go towards her expanding her business. That's the game.
Yeah.
That's how they run psyops.
Yeah, we were talking about this. Also, you got to remember, it's not as if you have to pay people to believe things that are wrong. Every time someone says something that another person...
Okay, before I play this guy, he's got some good things to say. What do you think? Do you think it's like that? Do you think that, or is it more organized? Does the CIA... do you believe in dumbs? Is the CIA raising people? The NSA? I'm laughing because I don't know. And you know what? My fellow YouTubers, my fellow Latter-day Saint YouTubers, they don't talk like this because they think that I'm a loon. Some of them touch this mildly and others don't. I don't believe every conspiracy. I don't believe the CIA is over everything. I am on a watch list. That is not a lie. Somebody brought that up to Jared. I heard that from somebody else. And Jared said, I don't know. Troy's my friend. I believe, or he just said, I'm not going there. You want to know what happened? A friend of mine, Gordon Weaver, worked for the newspaper. The newspaper's kind of obsolete now. because of the internet, because it was in a small town of 60,000. He came over. This was like almost 4 years ago that he told me this too. And it was when right after I'd started my channel, I was doing a lot of, I was watching a lot of truthers on YouTube, going down rabbit holes. And that was a new thing. YouTube was at its prime with truthers. This was in the middle of Trump's administration. Then YouTube started kicking people off. Do you guys remember that? And they were going to Brighton and Rumble. And what's the other one? BitChute. Yeah. So I could have very well been mildly on, and I was not very well. He told me at dinner, he and his wife came over for dinner, and he went outside and he goes, bro, you're on an FBI watch list. I can't remember how he knew and found out, but he had the ability to. Now, I had been fingerprinted when I used to work in the fuel industry with Homeland Security. So I very well believe that was the case. Did I ever check up on it myself? No, but it is not a lie, and Gordon Weaver is not a liar. Okay, now, what do you believe? Do you believe these guys where it's just like they hear what you see somebody else talk about how great Hillary is? Is that what's going on The View? Oprah or Whoopi Goldberg and others are people mimicking others, and it's a chain reaction, and it's just like they all rub elbows with each other, and somebody's just paying people off for running their mouths for them, just like the jab. You know, when we saw Saturday Night Live and Colbert and others doing their little dances, like Jimmy Fallon in jab uniforms and the Oscars and things like that. Is that completely organized, or are they just doing it because they get kick downs and money? All right, well, listen to this guy.
Person disagrees with, they'll go like, you're a grifter, you're only saying that because there's a financial incentive, as if no one has ever been incorrect about anything because they just came to the wrong conclusion on their own. It's like,
of course,
sometimes people just believe things that are wrong. In fact, it's crazy, most of the time people believe things that are wrong,
right?
And you don't have to believe that the federal government is paying somebody. The reality is, we
doesn't
live in a
mean it's
system
not happening,
where people
though.
are not encouraged to choose virtue.
Right.
When you're not encouraged to choose virtue, you're going to take the path of least resistance as often as possible, and that means falling in line with opinions that are more popular, because it's difficult to argue for unpopular opinions. That's all it is. You don't have to fund anybody.
Is it
you don't have to
difficult
run
for you?
any kind of like special operation to get pop artists. Like, come on, why does someone become, just think about it, why does someone become a pop artist? Why does someone become a famous actor?
Right.
Because they want to be liked.
Rich and
So as
famous.
long as the culture says being liked means having these opinions, then they're going to have those opinions. You don't have to blackmail them. You don't have to give them money.
But he's almost saying it like it's a given. It's natural. We all want to be liked. He's almost saying it like it is typical human nature now for people to do that. But he's leaving out that there's another side that doesn't do that. Okay. There are people that don't sell their values. They don't sell their tokens for money. I'm starting to understand what that means more and more.
Partly disagree. A lot of people who get famous end up not liking being famous, and they quit. They try to hide. A lot of people who get famous enjoy being famous. It's not absolute. So when I look at someone like Taylor Swift, I don't know so much that when she was a little kid, she said, I wish I was famous, other than she made music, the music got popular, and now she's famous. There are certainly people who want nothing but to be famous, and what do you see? They make up fake garbage on social media for clicks and likes, and that is a lot of people.
But even when it's not a pursuit of fame, and I'm not saying that there are no famous artists who just believe in their craft, but any kind of performance art is going to disproportionately attract people who are attention seeking and want large crowds to like them.
Yeah.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be a formal conspiracy anyways. People are just doing what they want to do. They're doing what's best for them, you know?
There's a
Exactly.
much easier PSYOPs conspiracy that we all already know about. And I will stress it again. The feds don't need to go to any individual creator and offer them money or recruit them and they're secretly CIA. It's actually much easier. They send a national security letter to Facebook and they say, we want your algorithm to prop up this kind of content.
Yeah.
That's it.
Well, and I think this
and
is
ban this kind of content.
This is where this is part of where things actually start to get really scary. I remember there was something my dad said to me when I was in high school. I asked him, like, do you believe in any conspiracy theories? And he said, no, the government doesn't need to cover anything up because the media will just call you racist or sexist or homophobic or evil if you point out things that are actually happening and try to destroy you that way.
Yeah, but not anymore. Not anymore. What is happening, though, is that the people that didn't believe, like, let's say in 9/11, believe it now. The people that didn't believe that in an Epstein Island believe it now. And the same people that didn't believe in a Clinton murder count believe it now. Right? The people that used to call us conspiracy theorists. But they still will say, yes, but you're still, I believe that, but you're still a conspiracy theorist. What? Really? No, I'm not talking about lizard people. All right. True truthers don't believe in whack job things. Okay. And what I mean by that is we believe in things that have been substantiated. There is proof behind what we believe. So anyway, and so when he says that, he's speaking maybe back in the 80s, in the 70s, it was a lot more common for people to call you a conspiracy theorist. And especially all the way up until, well, it got progressively well known, but then people were believing a lot more right after 9/11.
But nowadays, that's not working like it used to. So they actually do have to interfere in ways that they didn't before because they don't control information as tightly as they used to, which is why we saw, as Tim alluded to, the White House communicating with Facebook about what kind of information should be allowed on that platform.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is not something that really should becomes any kind of surprise. We've talked about it, here all the time.
So you're saying that Taylor Swift is working for this?
Yeah, you think Taylor
Well,
Swift?
I don't know that. I don't think that anyone, or I don't think that there are actually assets like that. I think that the incentive structures that are built up don't require that. It's the same thing when it comes to like the deep state, right? Like. All the deep state is your average people that are bureaucrats that don't change when.
Let me back that up. I had to stop there for a second.
Well, I don't know that. I don't think that anyone, or I don't think that there are actually assets like that. I think that the incentive structures that are built up don't require that. It's the same thing when it comes to like the deep
I don't know what
state,
their
right?
argument is though.
All the deep state is your average people that are bureaucrats that don't change when the administration policy, the policy.
But how cool would it be
if she was a Fed?
Taylor Swift was like
at January 6th telling people to riot?
She's down there going like,
she's like Ray Epps. She's
no. I'll say how.
Okay, that part's funny, and we'll get to that. But I don't agree. First of all, what are these guys' argument? I mean, what are they trying to prove? No, they are organized. They might not be as organized as your average conspiracy theorist thinks they are organized, but there is some organization, and it's not just, oh, the last administration left some stragglers in the CIA and FBI, and they happen to be just going full blown head on trying to take down Donald Trump and send people like Ray Epps to the January 6th deal. That is not, those aren't just stragglers left over. They are organized. And I like Tim But sometimes I wonder about some of the guys that hang out with them. Are these guys, well, Tim always has considered himself a classic liberal, which nowadays is better than a lefty. He's not anti-non-governmental organization. But I'm wondering what their argument is. But yeah, and then they get into some funny stuff.
How cool would it be if, like, 30, 34 years ago, two people are recruited by the CIA to have a child, which would go on to become a pop star to influence and control the minds of the youth.
Anyway,
and then you've got like 7.
That's about what I wanted to show you there. Let us tie it in. Before I go on, and I've got some quotes from brother. I have some well-defined and powerful words from the brethren of today and the past. I do want to bring up something that Gordon B. Hinckley said. We often hear about the purge. Another thing that I touch on that I don't see very many others do. And I'm not saying there's something wrong with them not doing it. I love my fellow Latter-day Saint YouTubers. They're awesome guys. I'm saying I often question my own, not sanity, but my own purpose. Like, should I be bringing these things up? Are you doing the right thing, Troy? That is the reason I bring them up. But Gordon B. Hinckley said almost the opposite of what Joseph Smith, Brigham Young, and J. Reuben Clark, and Ezra Taft Benson said, and others. And this is a quote. Gordon B. Hinckley on Larry King Live said September 8th, 1998, as the Mormons entered national politics, the quote, the church does not become involved in politics. We don't favor any candidate. We don't permit our buildings to be used for political purposes. We don't favor any party, close quote. The reason I brought that up first is I want you to tell me, please tell me what you think about that quote in the comments section. I want to hear it. I want to hear it. I'm going to put it first. I'll put the quote there, and then I want you to copy and paste it, and then put your answer after that, if you would. I want to read you this by, this is, so I brought you all that to bring you this. It's in Deseret News, FBI, CIA, NSA, BYU. I don't know if many of you knew that this article existed, but it does. And it began to exist November 1st, 2022. The truth, and I want your opinion on it. If you know more about the CIA, FBI, NSA, BYU, then let me know. The truth about government agencies' rumored special interest in recruiting Latter-day Saints turns out to be more nuanced. In other words, we always hear the church recruits more CIA than anybody else, right? Utah has NSA and CIA. Well, is this article, I don't know, let's read it and I'll tell you what I think. Members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints have long been rumored to be special targets for recruitment in government intelligence and security agencies. In 1971, a Ramparts magazine article claimed that Latter-day Saints provided both the CIA and FBI with some of their best men. A 1981 Associated Press news story reported the CIA does some of its most successful recruiting in predominantly LDS Utah. A 2015 Atlas Obscura article headlined, "Why Mormons Make Great FBI Recruits," notes that agencies like the Department of Homeland Security, right, the FBI and the CIA, see Mormons as particularly desirable recruits and have a reputation for hiring a disproportionate number of people who belong to the church. The 2017 book, quote, FBI and Religion, dedicates a full chapter to the connection, calling church members a natural recruiting grounds for agents. And Tracy Walder, a former CIA officer and FBI special agent and author of The Unexpected Spy, told me the rumor was so common internally that by the time she worked for the government, it had become a running joke. The Mormons are what the agency wanted in their recruitment. While it's easy to find such rumors, it's much more difficult to substantiate them. Now, before I go on, I want to look up Tracy Walder, likes News Nation, national security contributor. She seems like good peeps. Okay. What do you know? What do you know? Good peeps. All right. Not to be confused with bad peeps, I guess. But let's go back. While it's easy to find such rumors, it's much more difficult to substantiate them. After all, the percentage of church members working for government intelligence and security agencies has never been revealed and could never be known for certain, for the simple reason that religious affiliation is not reported nor recorded by any such agency. To do so could violate the law. What's more, multiple former agencies and recruiters told me that even though many members of the church may work at the CIA, FBI, that doesn't mean they were recruited because of their religious affiliation. Rather, they insist it's their personal skills, experience, and willingness to serve that makes them appealing. Is it because they were Eagle Scouts? Is it because they're hard workers? Well, Latter-day Saints are worker bees, right? The controversial former FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover is said to have preferred Latter-day Saints and other religiously affiliated recruits during his near half-century tenure over the agency. In my career, veteran agents who worked under the Hoover era would talk about those days, explained Peter Ayrn, a former FBI agent spent in charge who oversaw many aspects of FBI recruiting for nearly 3 decades. Some mentioned that they heard Hoover's belief that Mormons, Jesuit, Catholics, and former military were good hires based on their backgrounds. But Ayrn contends, I don't know if I'm pronouncing the name right, that religion actually has nothing to do with the recruiting process. I would say it's a conformity thing. These people are just scrubbed behind the ears and well-disciplined. In all my years with the FBI and their missionaries look like CIA operatives or agents. I never observed nor heard of an FBI recruiter targeting individuals, colleges, universities, or religious groups or individuals, or special religions or affiliations. So I don't know. There's not much here. Mormon missionaries serving abroad were mistaken by CIA agents. There's been confusion, like I said, between the two. The FBI once described the character he portrayed by noting, "We couldn't have anything to do with women. We couldn't smoke. We couldn't drink. We were little good boys." Should be good little boys. I don't know. Depicted in this way, the FBI appeared to be highly congruent with Latter-day Saint values. So all in all, I don't see this as a dissuader either way, but I think that's part of the problem, if you ask me, of why we have some problems in the church. And it's not the brethren. It's like, well, some have said middle management. It is administration. And I don't mean administration as far as the brethren are administration, but I'm talking about the handlers, the people that take care of the grunts, right? The middle management grunts. All right, so what say you? What do you think about what Tim Pool had to say and his folks? And are the CIA and FBI more organized than that? What say you? And I'll leave that and put it. I'll copy and I'll paste that in the comments section. Pin it. You copy and paste it and answer. We'll go from there.